Hi, and thanks for dropping in. In this short video, you'll receive an overview of the emotional intelligence, what it is, and about the tool itself, the inventory, the EQI 2.0. So let's take a look at what emotional intelligence is. Emotional intelligence is a set of emotional and social skills that collectively establish how well you perceive and express yourself, how well you develop and maintain social relationships, how well you cope with challenges, and how well you use emotional information in an effective and meaningful way. So you can see how beneficial being more aware of your emotional intelligence can be at work and at home. Now let's review what it's not. We're going to be comparing emotional intelligence here to IQ, which is intellectual intelligence, intellectual quotient. So EQ is emotional quotient here, is estimated to account for 27 to 45% of job success. And so you can imagine being at work and being able to manage your emotions at work and being able to develop really good relationships with your coworkers, being able to make really good decisions. 27 to 45% is quite a lot. Now, EQ and IQ are not the same, meaning that there's no relationship between your IQ and your EQ. So if you have a high IQ, high intelligence, it doesn't necessarily mean that your EQ will be the same, or vice versa. We know too that IQ is set, it's innate, and it peaks around 17 years of age, but EQ isn't fixed, which suggests that you can improve your emotional intelligence, which is really helpful to know that. What emotional intelligence is not, it's also not a test to evaluate your performance, your ability in performing a certain skill. So it doesn't measure aptitude. It also doesn't measure achievement. It is not a standardized examination that assesses your proficiency in terms of a specific performance as well. It's also not an assessment that determines your interests in order for you to choose a particular occupation. And it also doesn't assess your personality. Distinctively different characteristics are sum total of a person, including your behavior or your character traits. And it doesn't measure that at all. This is what the EQI 2.0 model looks like. This is the tool that I use. And you can see here that there's a section on self-perception and self-expression and interpersonal decision-making and stress management. This is what the EQI evaluates, is these different skills. So the total EQ score is at the core of the model. You'll notice too that there are some different skills and sub-skills. So for example, the skill self-perception, the skill self-expression, and sub-skills, the sub-skills of self-regard or self-actualization and emotional self-awareness. So the sub-skills all roll up into composite scales, the scale of self-perception. And all of these different skills and sub-skills, they all roll into an overall well-being, which includes happiness as well. You can see around here, you've got emotional and social functioning, you've got well-being, but all of this together will roll up into a score of well-being, which includes happiness. So the total emotional intelligence, success in coping with environmental demands. It gives you a snapshot of your overall well-being, and it's made up of 5 composite scales and 15 subscales. So these are the different composite scales And within each of these composite scales are 3 other scales, so the sub-scales. Here's an overview of the 5 composite scales: self-perception, self-expression, interpersonal, decision-making, and then you've got your stress management. And each one of these scales build on another. So the self-expression, or the self-perception rather, flows into self-expression, which flows into interpersonal, which flows into your ability to make decisions, and so on, which flows into stress management. So let's take a quick look at what these scales and subscales are. Self-perception, we'll look at self-regard, self-actualization, emotional self-awareness. The self-expression, the subscales for that scale is the emotional expression, assertiveness, and independence. Interpersonal falls into the interpersonal relationships, the empathy and social responsibility. The scale is decision making, the subscale is problem solving, reality testing, impulse control, and stress management is flexibility, stress tolerance, and optimism. So the EQI has the self-assessment, which is composed of 133 items, and it takes about half an hour or so to complete it. Now, it's not a race. It could take a little longer. It could take a little less time. It depends on how you, how you complete it. But it also provides a 1 to 5 rating scale for responses. So you'll have to choose 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5 when you are asked the questions. All right, so let's put this all together. The EQI 2.0 is a valid, reliable assessment that has been normed to closely resemble the general population. Once you decide to work with me, I will be sending you a link to complete the EQI 2.0 online. Once you've completed that inventory, I will then be notified that you've completed it, and then I will be sending you a link to my scheduler. So we meet and we discuss the results. And so if you then decide to continue for a couple of more meetings, you will be able to schedule 2 follow-ups. So you'll have the option. You can complete the inventory and have 1 meeting to discuss the results, or you can also add 2 additional meetings so that we can continue not only to discuss the results, but also to explore further how you might be able to move the range of those scores, how you might be able to improve that, the areas that you want to improve. Now I have 2 different packages. To just complete the EQI and 1 meeting alone is $250. To complete the inventory and have 3 meetings with me, it's $370. Or you can simply have the tool, the results of the tool, 1 meeting, and then you could book other meetings as much as you want or as little as you want. So that gives you an idea of what my costs are for this. Please feel free to contact me at linda@lindagrobert.com, and we'll take it from there. I am looking forward to being your coach. I'm also called the Back in the Groove Again coach. This might be exactly what you need to get back in your groove. See you soon now.